Hi there. So this video is about my first car. I've got fond memories of my first car, and I'm sure you're going to put comments about it or about comments about your own car. Now, when I passed my test, I think it's 22 years old at the time. My first car was a Lada Riva. Now, you don't really see many of them in the UK anymore, but I'll put a photo up for it now, and the colour is like a mustardy orange colour, look like a box with wheels, but I loved it to bits. Now, when I passed my driving test, you pass your driving test, you think, right, I'm going to get a nice car, and then you start looking at the costs of the car, the cost of the insurance, the cost of tax and MOT it, and I think I bought that car at the time for about £500. It wasn't about 5 years old, which is quite cheap for a car then. Most cars at that point were like, I think it was Ford Escorts, which is like now the Focuses, I suppose, is the next generation of it. And so I got that one because it wasn't a well-known make, and it was probably the butt of lots of jokes of people saying, oh, you don't want to get that, it breaks down a lot. Well, that's all I could afford. So it's a 1.2 engine, 1.2 litre, so a small engine, so that's the sort of thing you consider at the same time. And the insurance, I think it cost me 130 quid third party fire and theft at the point when I first got insured, and I got it with a full MOT and taxed, so I didn't have to pay anything for a year for it. So they're the things you consider. It's a manual gearbox, the seats were very springy, and if you wind the window down it might fall down, so it had its faults, but and it was a rust bucket as well, so it rusted quite easy. So it was quite funny, my first car, and I loved it to bits, and it lasted me 2 years, it did. But I learned a lot of driving in it afterwards. So when you pass your driving test, you will learn a lot more about driving on the roads on your own. It's a bit weird at first, but you get used to it. But I suppose that the modern day cars are a lot more reliable. They don't rust as much, and they look a lot nicer than mine. And I suppose you can put the comments of what car you want when you pass your driving test and what car you actually got. That'll be an interesting one, because like I say, I got a Lada. I would have loved a Ford Escort RS Cosworth, but no chance can afford that. It's like the bee's knees at that point in the 80s. So yeah, you put your comment about what cars you got when you first passed your driving test, and how reliable it was. It'd be interesting, because I mean the cars now, I suppose, for a new driver, you're talking maybe a Corsa or a Fiesta, or like a 4KA, or even smaller than that, a little C1, Citroen one. So there's lots of small cars with small engines, and it's, I suppose, whatever takes your fancy. And everyone wants a certain colour, but when you buy second-hand cars, you can't always get the colour you want. Like, I didn't want a mustardy orange colour, but it was the right price at the right time, so I took it, and it lasted me 2 years. I think I sold it 2 years later for about 350 quid. So I think I lost 150 quid on it, which wasn't a lot then for 2 years worth of driving. And I think I had something like, when I bought it, I think I had about 35 or 34,000 miles on it, which is nothing. And when I sold it, I think I had about 50,000 miles on it. So I didn't really do loads and loads of miles, where these modern day cars, you can get up to 200,000 miles out of an engine quite easy. And I suppose when you do go looking at your own cars, you just got to take into consideration. And also, my car had a manual choke. Now, most of the people who are probably under 20 probably never heard of a manual choke. And most new cars have automatic chokes. When you turn the engine on, when the car's cold and you turn the engine on, and it just revs a little bit more than normal at first, that's your choke putting petrol into the engine to make it go more. And as the engine gets warmer, the idle position on the rev counter will drop below 1, so it's about 800 revs. But on a manual choke, some of the older cars, you've got to pull it's like a long lever that's in the middle of your dashboard or next to your keys, and you pull the choke out and turn the engine on. It puts the petrol into the engine. And I remember when I first went for a test drive of my car, I actually didn't understand the chokes and that, because my learner car was an automatic choke, like most cars are now. So the bloke said, oh, you better pull your choke out. What's that? I said, what's a choke? Like that. Oh, you got to put petrol in the engine before you set off. So I pull the choke out, start the engine. It's like a little racing car, and it was great, it was. So I set off driving round for about 10 minutes. Now, no one told me that as the car warms up, you push your choke in. So I let the choke out, come some traffic lights and stall the engine, flooded the engine with petrol. So I'm trying to start it, and my brother-in-law saying, what's up with the car? I said, I don't know, because your choke's still out. So I pushed the choke in, we had to kind of restart it a few times, and it started. So you have some funny stories about when you first start driving on your own, and that was mine. I learned how to use a choke, I suppose, after I passed my test. So if you've got stories about your first car, or you want to put what kind of car you want when you get one, when you pass your test, then by all means put comments below. It'll be interesting reading what you've put. And I suppose if you get yourself on a good insurance that's quite cheap, put a link below, because there's quite a few people who want to know what good insurance companies are out there. Okay, take care, safe driving with your driving lessons, and if you've passed your test, good luck in your car.